Tonight we've done this in aid of Dougie Mack. So there's obviously been bookings on the bar, bookings at the door, so that anyone could put a donation in as he came in. The Lightwood Community Group, which works hard, so people like John, Marilyn, Malcolm, there's a number of people, and a few have been asked to go tonight. So we decided that we were going to chuck £500 into tonight's event. So there's a cheque that's been prepared. There's a smaller one as well, which is the actual real one. So I'd like to sort of give this to the Dougie Mack, and I'd like Mark and Jack standing there for obviously the photograph. And I think it's right that we support such a wonderful charity as Dougie Mack. And I'd like to sort of hand over now so that you can have your say about the Dougie Mack, really.
Good evening. I'd like to say thanks very much for inviting us. Thank you very much for the money. As we all know, this, as you would know, is a local hospice, and it's something we cannot lose in this area because we're very, very lucky to have this hospice. I'm not going to say a lot, but I'd just like to say thank you. But what I normally do tell people, that this hospice costs £1 million. It costs £12 million a year to run. We do have a little bit of help, but without people like yourself sitting out there putting money in the boxes, seeing people in Hanley with boxes and seeing other events that go on, you make this hospice. You're the people that make it work. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. There's money also in the buckets, but thank you for everything you've done tonight. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to take questions from the floor. So John will announce who's reading what question out, and we'll try and make this quite snappy. So we'll pass the microphone across to the two candidates, and John will read out who is reading the next question.
Okay, Dave, you're going to have to do the first one, Dave.
Oh, sorry.
From a guy named Chris. You have to leave really doesn't work.
Okay, this is probably one that's quite close to my heart as well, because you know what sort of battles we've had recently. So the question to the two candidates is, where do you stand on the protection of Greenbelt and Greenfield sites in Stoke-on-Trent? We've got Lightwood and we've got Berry Hill Fields, which are two which have been threatened with building upon. And we'd just like a quick statement from each candidate.
Thank you, Dave. I totally oppose the building on the Greenbelt here in Lightwood. Absolutely support the work of the community to oppose that development. I will do everything possible to make sure that that doesn't happen, that we don't see any development of the precious Greenbelt here. We need to see the development on brownfield sites in the centre of our towns, around our towns, and I absolutely support that. I've fed in a number of sites into the local plan that weren't even being considered in the centre of our towns in Longton and Fenton that I want to see prioritised for development first. We need to get those brownfield derelict sites developed first and save precious Greenbelt here. So I will do everything to fight to protect our Greenbelt and green sites in this city.
There's two issues here that really concern me. First of all, let me tell you, I'm obviously opposed to any form of building upon greenbelts, and we've had problems across the constituency, not Lightwood, Berry Hill Fields, in Trentham, Meadow Lane, and soon in Hanford. There's continuous building going on, and I've been looking at and trying to dig down into the detail of this. And the first thing to say is I think we have 1,300 derelict privately rented houses here. We have 6,900 space for 6,900 houses that can be built if derelict buildings are knocked down by the council in Stoke. So we have plenty of land, plenty of areas on brownfield that we can do it. The question is, why don't we do it? Now, it's all to do with a private company called St Modwin's, St Modwyn's own a lot of land and have been gradually snapping up land over many years, and they want to build houses on that land. This is where the crisis comes in under St Modwyn's. Now, why is St Modwyn's so interested here, and what's the connection? Now, it comes back to me from an organisation at the heart of City Council called the Stoke Regeneration Limited. Now, the Stoke Regeneration Limited is an organisation that used to be, I think Jack, you were the chair of it, or certainly you were on it.
I actually resigned from it because of
Well,
the green belt here in Lightwood.
Okay, well then you were on it, you resigned from it, then we were replaced by Daniel Jennerman. But nevertheless, it's at the heart of the Conservative Association policy on housing in the city. And it's important that we get into the detail, that we don't just push over this, because the Stoke Regeneration Limited, to which Daniel Jennerman's now on, previously Jack Reardon, its offices are based in the same building as St Medwin in Birmingham. Now, what is the close connection between these buildings, and why is it there's some sort of incentive to keep on building on land with the Stoke Regeneration Limited and St Medwin? Now, that's what concerns me. All the polite words that we hear, oh, I'm against this, I'm against that, but actually, we're losing battles. We lost it in Trenton. It could have been pulled in by the Secretary of State, but it wasn't pulled in by the Secretary of State. It could have been changed. Looking like we're going to lose it in Hampford, and we're still fighting in relation to Berry Hill. There was a good victory here, but trust me, they will come back next year. They will put another applications in. That fight is not going to stop, because St Medwin and the Stoke Regeneration Limited, to which he says he resigned from, Jack has resigned from, but Daniel is still there. One's got to ask ourselves, what is that connection, and why is it that this connection is still happening and these houses are still being built, when so many derelict houses are there that can be used for people that need homes in the city.
Okay. Next question, John.
Carl Hurst, please.
My question is to two candidates. Retired police officer. Sorry about that. I'm a retired police officer, and I retired in 2012. I am really concerned about the current state of law and order in our country and where they now sit, with the number of serious crimes continue to increase. The number of police officers has reduced, and the pressure on the police officers are working under extreme. I know personally police officers who were forced out of the police force and treated badly, even after 30 years of loyal and dedicated service. Morale is at an all-time low, and this has a negative impact on the officers along with the law and order. I welcome the news the current government is looking to increase 20,000 new police officers. However, this comes after the same government cut police officer numbers by a reported 21,600. So we're not even getting back the 1,600 that was got rid of. When I look at the current situation in Stoke-on-Trent, I understand that cuts to our local police force are probably the second highest in the UK. The only police station in the city with response officers is Angley, and that is being closed, with officers being moved to Angley Fire Station. The situation in Stoke-on-Trent is at breaking point, and we all deserve better. If elected as our MP, what will you do to help make our streets a safer place for all the people in Stoke-on-Trent? And finally, I do not want to know national figures or national policies. I want to know what you will do for Stoke-on-Trent.
Jack, thank you, Dave. We absolutely need to see more police officers on our streets, and that's why we do need to see those additional ones that the Prime Minister's announced coming into Staffordshire Police. I've been supporting the local police over the last 2.5 years. I've worked with them to put in place more measures to help address crime and antisocial behaviour in our communities. I helped to secure over £600,000 specifically for addressing some of the issues with youth violence and violent crime in the city to try and prevent more of that. I've also very much supported the injunctions that have been put in place against 8 people in the Mere area, which continually intimidated the Mere community. It's important that we do take robust action against people who continually and repeatedly break the law, and I think we need to ensure that we support the police to take those actions, and I will continue to ensure that we get more money into the police as well. I was part of ensuring that we got £1 billion extra for the police nationally. I met with the Home Secretary and the Police Minister several times over the last 12 months to discuss these issues and talk about the issues that we're facing with drugs and antisocial behaviour and serious violence on our streets. And it's absolutely disgraceful that we were the monkey dust capital of the UK. We had around 70 to 80% of the monkey dust issues and consumption of monkey dust was in Stoke-on-Trent. I've been supporting the police to take robust action against that, and we've really cut out some of the supply. There was one main supplier of monkey dust in Stoke-on-Trent, and I'm pleased that the police have taken significant action to track down where that supply was coming from and get that person and those individuals who are trading that horrific drug, because we need to make sure that we are taking action and taking robust action against those who deal these drugs, who commit crimes, which then funds other crimes in the city as well. And I've been campaigning to see that drug and some of these other psychoactive substances upgraded to a Class A drug, because the impact that they have is like a Class A drug, but they're not classed as a Class A drug at the moment. We need to see them reclassified so that they are a Class A drug and ensure that proper support is put in place for those addicts to wean them off those drugs, because it's important that we address these issues. As I say, drugs link through to all these other crimes, and we've seen those in and throughout the whole of the south of the city. I've been taking action with the police. I've been on a raid only a few weeks ago with the local police to raid a number of properties across the south of the city, and we raided a property that was related to supply and consumption of drugs, and we have seen a number of those properties who were raided, criminals prosecuted for the actions that they've been committing of serious violence and drug abuse on the streets of Stoke-on-Trent. So we need to continue to support the police to take those actions, and I will continue to support them to get the funding and the investment we need to get the police on our streets.
Thanks, Jack. Just 2 more statistics which is sort of things I've been doing recently. If you look at serious crime in Stoke-on-Trent, it's up 15% year on year. If you look at knife crime locally, it's up 93% in the last 10 years. So serious action is needed. Your turn, Mark.
Cool. So I've worked within the criminal justice system now for the last 20 years, and I've worked with some of the finest police officers this country can produce. I've worked on numerous high-profile murder cases and terrorism cases, and we have a fantastic police force, but you are absolutely right. I work with them each and every day, and morale is really low from top to bottom. And I had a close friend who was a police officer who left some years ago because in relation to the shift changes, and what happened with the shift changes, they just couldn't cope anymore, and they just went. And he had spent his life wanting to be a police officer. So we do have a massive problem with morale, we have a massive problem that we pay, but we have a massive problem because police officers are overstretched. They're having to work more and more hours and do more and more pressure, more and more admin work, because admin staff are being cut short as well within the police service. And what happens there is 2 things really. One, crime goes undetected. You call a police officer for burglary or for something going on, they don't come out because there isn't enough police officers. But number 2, there's potential for miscarriages of justice because proper investigation is not doing, and an innocent person may land up in prison, not as a result of a bad cop, but as a result of a good cop not overstretched and not being able to do the job that they want to do. Nobody wants to see a guilty person go free. Nobody wants to see an innocent person locked up. But we have such enormous pressure upon our criminal justice system and our police force. That's what's happening. So it's not just a simple answer of, yes, we're going to have so many more police officers. Yes, we need more police officers. More importantly, the we first have to start is, yes, police officers, but also increasing morale. And this is where I want to be able to see my function come in. Because I don't want to go to see senior officers or do a photo shoot on a raid. I want to go and sit and have a cup of tea in a police canteen with an ordinary copper and say, what's the issues? What's going on? My door's always open. We can sit and we can talk. And is there any way I can help you with your daily life? And if I can, I will do. Because I think that's what it's about. I think it's making sure, as a politician, yes, you're an advocate in Westminster, but your door's always open in Stoke for people who need it. And that's what I'll be doing.
Does that answer the question? Okay, thank you. Next question.
May Lewis.
Lady over here, John. You go first this time.
My question is, you're on about jobs and pay rises. Since the Tories and Independents have run the council, how is it they've wasted so much money, like on solar electricity, hotels? Now they have to cut back on potholes, jobs, NHS, in fact even on the community gardens. You've gone from 9 people down to 3. We've only done 5 months this year, and council people are paying for the gardens on top of the rent, which works out at £18 a month on top of the rent. Because 6 months of the year they don't do it. And I think this city wants putting back on its feet, not bringing him down on its knees anymore.
I'll come back to you, Mayor, if I may. I'll let Jack answer for the council, if I am, in relation to the issues in relation to potholes. But may I pick up on one issue that you've raised in relation to solar electricity?
Yes.
Because, as you know,
That's a waste of money.
as you know, I've been leading the campaign Review and Review Go. Actually, here's my leaflet against solar electricity. Actually, mate, you're on the front page of the leaflet. That's you. And we've been working really hard. It's important that you know what's going on in this city in relation to solar electricity. Solar electricity came here about a year and a half ago and did a deal with the council to supply energy and solar panels to the houses, the council houses to this city. But if you've just done a little bit of due diligence on this company, you'd realise that there were some serious concerns with the background behind it. It had a number of companies, a number of arms. Looking at company's house, there was a tendency to get into debt and collapse the company. Now, what's happened on the doorstep is that a number of residents have said that they didn't sign contracts for them to come in to the house, but they've been switched over to this energy supply company nevertheless. They've had solar panels put on roofs, which they shouldn't, and they never agreed to. As a result of all that, it's caused an enormous amount of distress to residents in this city. Now, what I've been doing is trying to dig away again to have a look at why it is that they're here. And the first thing I noticed is that with this company, each house that was signed up, the council received £100. £100 for each house that was signed up. And about, I think, 5,000 new houses have just been given over to the company. Now, Simplicity went bump. Toto took over. Toto went bump. And now EDF have had to come in, but they've had to come in and pick up on an enormous amount of mess. How Simplicity have now changed their name, and they're now calling themselves something else, rebranded. And the council, Abby Brown, have just given over 5,000 new houses. Now the question is, who brought this company to the city? Now on the cabinet we know that Abby Brown was there, Daniel Jelliman was there, Jack, to be fair, wasn't there because he had become an MP by that stage and resigned from cabinet. He was on council though. And we've got to remember that in our council, the three most important Conservatives at the time was Abby, Daniel and Jack. Now, I'm sure, and I'm sure Jack won't deny this, he was aware that this company was coming in to this city at the time. What I want him to do is condemn the actions of Simplicity, condemn the fact that they're brought in, and commit to do everything he can to rid this city of Simplicity and to repair the damage that it's been caused to the houses and to the many residents. Let me add one final thing. Over the last couple of months, past employees have come to me and given me evidence and documents which has caused me serious concern in relation to the activity of this company. I've now handed that over to the police. And an activity and a criminal investigation is going on. We've got to let the full investigation to be completed and a due process to be taking place. But it's clear to me that this council, our council, should have known better right at the start and should never have brought this company to this city.
Can I just add something before Jack makes a comment? Now, we said on politics 2 weeks ago on the Sunday, as you've helped with the people on Simplicity, why did you send me a letter saying you couldn't help me?
I never
go to
did.
Citizens Advice.
I did.
And I still have that letter, Jack.
Okay, so
You would not help me at all. You told me go to Citizens Advice. This is where we needed you and all the residents of Stoke-on-Trent.
I've got a file about this big of constituents I've helped with
no
Simplicity.
It doesn't make no difference.
can we give Jack a chance to sort of just come back on that? We've taken the point on board.
Yeah, it's fine.
I've got a file about this big of constituents who I've helped with Simplicity, and it's
I'd like
occupied
to see that
hours
Jack.
and hours and hours of my staff's time
No,
dealing
yeah,
with
your staff's
what is
time,
a
not yours.
horrific company. They are absolute crooks, and I do condemn entirely. I hope this company, Simplicity, that now has changed its name and is another company that's owned by David Elbourne. He's owned about 20 different companies, all with the same address. I would agree that proper due diligence wasn't done, and I hope that the officers who were responsible for that have lost their jobs, because it is totally unacceptable that the due diligence was not done on that. We need to see action taken against Simplicity, and I hope that that Ofgem and the regulator will be taking action against Simplicity and Toto as well, who vulnerable people were passed from pillar to post between these companies. I've been, as I say, dealing with, this is more complaints than I've ever had about one energy company coming in to my inbox. I wasn't aware actually of Simplicity before all these came in, and I think it is absolutely horrific that vulnerable people have been taken advantage of in this way. I've met with representatives once from Simplicity in the last few months, and I can tell you it was quite an aggressive meeting. It didn't end well. At one point I was told that he didn't come for a telling off to the meeting, but this behaviour of this company has been totally unacceptable, and I hope that we will see, if criminal action is taken, I will totally support that, because we need to see the people who've preyed on vulnerable people in this city brought to justice.
Well, the people who preyed on
Has it answered your question? Okay,
No,
you raised the
no,
question,
that's
so the lady there raised the question. Does that answer your question?
Right. Why isn't the council doing something about it? Because I go out on the Celebrity Forum and I pick people up or they get in touch with me and want help. Now I've had 2 suicidal recently. I've had another gentleman who had a stroke. He lives the other side of the city, but I still help out. And it was the very day after, so publicity, bombarding him at the door, and he'd already suffered 3 heart attacks. Now all this has been reported to the council. Now I cannot see these people being heard. There's another gentleman here I've helped, and it must be over 50. And I was working on another case last night. In fact, I'll send you the email I sent you.
Okay. I think the consensus here is...
It is very serious and it is all down to the Tories and the council. It's having round. And Jack was a part of it. He knew about all this.
I did not.
Daniel Jaiman and Andy Conte.
I think we've done this a little bit now. I think what we need to do is get both of these guys pulling together with the council to make sure that we...
So Jack said anybody who's responsible will be sacked. You know, they need to go. So is that going to go? Jack?
Well, the cabinet member who actually initiated this project was a city independent, and he's no longer a councillor. Councillor Anthony Mundy was the councillor who actually initiated this project, and he's no longer on the council. So,
Okay.
It was Conte.
It was Randy Conte.
It was. I've got the minutes of the meeting.
Yeah.
With Daniel Jaiman, Abby Brown and Conte.
Okay.
They were all there and she was the head
Anthony
of the
Mundy is
council.
Okay. Can we move on to next question, John?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My question is, we have reached an all-time low in British politics. We have gone from trust through to spin, and now on to the news and lies, fake news and lies. What are your views on how this can be addressed? How do you elect politicians, can't read my writing, regain the trust of the public? Why should we trust each of you if you are elected to represent us?
well, absolutely, and we need to have respect in politics, and the threats that I just received to kill me from a member of the audience here was just totally unacceptable. We should not be having people threatening one another. We shouldn't have threatening behaviour in politics. We should respect one another, and I've always, in my approach to politics, argued and debated about issues. You know, we don't talk in bad language, we don't use threatening behaviour, and we need to get back to politics in that way, because it's totally unacceptable that women, that minorities in this country are threatened in that way and feel that they're not welcome in politics because of that abusive behaviour. We need to bring an end to that and ensure that we have a more respectable politics, that people can debate issues, can argue about issues, can disagree about issues, but that we have respect for one another. And we need to also deliver for the people. We need to deliver Brexit. We need to get on and deliver, because that is what I think is causing the most anguish within communities I've spoken to in Stoke-on-Trent. That actually we had a referendum and the politicians have ignored that referendum for 3 years and not delivered what people wanted to see. They've not delivered Brexit. I'm committed to making sure Brexit happens, that we deliver Brexit, that we get on, and we can then get back to the issues that really matter for everybody here in Stoke-on-Trent.
You know, when I decided to become an MP, I seemed to got addicted to the Parliamentary channel. And I watched, like many others, the appalling way the Attorney General first, Geoffrey Cox, and then later the Prime Minister spoke to other parliamentarians in Parliament. The divisive language that was used, the heckling, the tone, the bullying and the nature of it was appalling. And that rhetoric and that nature has been all pervasive through politics for many years. You know, it led to one of my own party members, MP Joe Cox, being stabbed to death in the street over the issue of Brexit and the divisions that have taken place in society. We have a broken country over Brexit. We have 17.4 million people who voted to leave, but we also had 16 million who voted to remain. And yes, Stoke is a strong leave area, of course we all know that. But actually you leave this area and you go to different parts of the country, and there are many who have decided that they want to remain. And they're fighting in Parliament, and as the death of Joe Cox proves, they're fighting outside of Parliament as well. And politicians are not helping this division. Now, we have a Prime Minister who referred to environmental protesters as crusties. He referred to Muslim women wearing letterboxes and bank robbers. He's insulted gay people in the past. He's referred to black people as pygmies, I think it was. His rhetoric and his language is disgusting and racist. And he follows that up in Parliament. And he uses that language of division in Parliament. Now, we've got to stop it. We've got to take that horridness, because that's not the Parliament that I want. That's not the Parliament this country deserves. We've got to roll back from it. I don't think that we can do so under this Prime Minister.
What about anti-Semitism? Can we do it with Corbyn?
Well, okay. Let's deal with that. If you want to deal with that, okay? Okay, racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia is endemic across this country, all right? And it has been. We all watched Love Thy Neighbour when I was younger, and it hasn't changed. That rhetoric and that nature that was there on television hasn't gone anywhere. It's still there, but it's still underground now, and it's spoken about in different ways. My concern is that we haven't dealt with it properly. I'm just going to, Ash, the chap next to you, can you just quiet down for a second? Just 1 second. And my concern is that it hasn't been dealt with properly. The racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia is a real problem. It's a problem in the Conservative Party, as we know, because 11 councillors has been suspended.
Yeah, we've dealt with it.
No, hold on.
There are still 100 cases in the Labour
Hold
Party of anti-Semitism that are open and have not been dealt with.
All right, you don't have to shout, I'm just here. Okay, the fact is there is anti-Semitism issues within the Labour Party, and there is Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, as we found out with a parliamentary candidate for the Tory party suspended today because of anti-Semitism. So look, it's across the board, because the parties reflect society, and in society we have this problem. And until we get into society and we deal with these problems, we're not going to eradicate racism. And my concern is that our leader, our Prime Minister, uses the language that he has used in Parliament, in his articles, which is blatantly racist. Blatantly racist. And we have to stop it. We have to.
Yeah.
Could you just tone it down a bit about other people that you don't know really that well?
Who am I talking about now? Who am I talking about that hasn't been...
about the Prime Minister.
He wrote it in the newspaper.
Why are we talking about the Prime Minister? We're talking about...
Okay, right. Can I just ask, does that answer the question that you raised?
Nowhere near, Mr. Chairman. And I would like to add, if I may, we deserve better.
Of course.
In all fairness, we have half-truths at best, total lies, spins, the norm in British politics in misleading the Queen, lying to us constantly. I'll be honest with you, Mr. Chairman, the government we have at the moment and Stoke-on-Trent City Council are not up to Mickey Mouse standards. Why?
Why do you say that?
Right, you've asked the question, I'll now answer it. Jack, you will remember I was chairman of the Berry Hill Fields Action Group. I set it up. We had a meeting, if you remember, over at Eaton Park, which you also, Mark, attended. I mean, the myths, truths of posters, Jack, from your party, pushed through our letterbox on Eaton Park, on Berry Hill Field. Yes, I've got them still, if you want them.
I don't know.
Well, one of your candidates is here tonight. If you want me to name him, I will.
Yeah, go on, name them.
He just left.
Right, Mr. James Watts. And if he wants to address me, I'll come on the stage and have a debate.
I've opposed that development, and I'm opposing to the Berry Hill Fields development.
Yeah, but wasn't it your party that put it on the table?
Well, as I say, I'm opposed to it, and I've put forward about 8 sites in the Longton and Fenton area that I think would be much better for housing development on brownfield sites, which would mean we don't need to develop in the Berry Hill Fields. I don't believe that we should be developing on greenfield sites. We should be developing our brownfield sites first, and that's what I've been committed to making sure we do, getting the investment that we need to develop those brownfield sites.
I've listened to him, Jack, and in all fairness, I've also listened to your Prime Minister, who said he'd rather be found dead in a ditch than go back to the European Parliament. Well, he's done it time and time again. Thank you.
Just quick, Jack.
No, it was Parliament that went back to the European Parliament and asked for an extension. It wasn't Parliament.
Okay, right, let's move on. Next question, John. Come on, quiet, please. Let's take the questions. Move on.
Lady at the front here.
How many more have you got, John?
Just been told remember it's not carried.
Yeah, do you think that's fair?
Given the fact that the hourly rate for early years funding does not come close to covering all the running costs of a private laboratory and independent setting, for example, the living wage, pension, business rates, and not being able to claim back VAT as a childcare provider, how will your party to support this sector to remain viable? And can I just say that won't solve the problem by just throwing more funded hours?
No, I do recognise that those costs are a significant issue. With having my 23-month-old son in nursery at the moment, I know how costly it is for parents, and the costs are only increasing in many cases for those nurseries. And that's why we're putting more support in for parents with things like the tax-free childcare, the additional hours for 3 and 4-year-olds, and that's absolutely critical to making sure we need more funding. I agree that we need more funding for early years, and that's something that I've seen up and down the country. Actually, we need to see more money for nurseries, and that's something that I want to see for nurseries. I've got a vested interest, I think, having a 23-month-old, that we have more funding going into nurseries, and you know, that is something that I hope that we can deliver moving forward.
You're right, and I don't think throughout the evening that I've done one. I haven't said we're going to spend more money on it. We're going to put more money into it, because I think it's more than just chucking money at something. It does not cure a problem. I think we do have a real problem in it. I was recently talking to somebody who runs a project called the Nappy Project. I don't know if you know that. And her job is going out to poor mothers who are poor, who can't afford the basic needs for their newborn baby. Can't afford to get cowpole, can't afford to get nappies, can't get wet wipes because they just don't have the money to be able to look after a newborn baby. That is wrong. Sure Start, which was removed across the country in many, many places, needs to be replaced. We need to be able to come back and make sure that newborn babies have the proper resources to be able to, a mother is able to look after them. But let me get back to your direct question, which is that we need better support, we need better engagement, we need to ensure that the resources are there. Tomorrow, is our manifesto launch. Tomorrow it will be in there in more detail, and hopefully we'll be able to answer your question. And so, more specific question that we answer your needs. What I know is right now that we have poor mothers that can't look after their children, and that can't be right. So if tomorrow it doesn't answer your question, maybe you and I can have another conversation, and I can go forward and say, well, you haven't dealt with what you should be dealing with, but I'm hoping that tomorrow you'll get your answers that you want. That's it.
Does that answer your question?
Not particularly, no, because can I just ask both of the representatives if you wouldn't mind, because it's childcare is closing at an unbelievable rate. There are nurseries, preschools closing at a record rate like there never have been before. And this is because that the hourly rate that we get paid £4 an hour per child. And if you think that the national living wage is going up to £10, £10.50, we will be out of business within 12 months. So, yes, I understand that there are people that can't afford to put nappies. You know, I see that day in and day out. But if we are not there as early intervention for these families, and it goes back again to the education part, if we're not there to put the early support in with these children and identify the children with special needs who need additional help when they go to school, if we're not there, then it's going to get even worse.
Well, we have pledged to increase this funding next year to help address some of these costs in childcare.
8 pence an hour.
In terms of the funding that will go to childcare, we've pledged to increase that funding up to £3.6 billion next year.
Okay, just talking to the candidates or the sort of two politicians, and we're going to probably take 2 more questions from the floor, then we'll start wrapping up with a political pitch from both of them before we're summing up at the end. So next one, John.
Nigel.
Okay, this is a question for both candidates. What do the candidates think the number one issue and priority should be for Stoke South?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sorry, my fault.
What do the candidates think the number one issue and priority should be for Stoke South?
Mark? Your turn, Jack, is it?
Well, my number one priority is to get Brexit done and deliver on what the overwhelming majority of people in this city have voted for.
Okay. Sounded a bit like Boris there, Jack. You know, I can say what my priority is, but you'll disagree because it's not your priority. You'll disagree because it's not your priority. But the most important thing to me, we have 17 food banks in this city. Let's get rid of those food banks and make sure people can feed their own families.
Does that answer your question? I think it does, because you've asked them what their opinion is. Yeah.
Yeah, I did agree with one of them.
Well,
yes,
maybe not, but they'd give you their honest opinion. Last question then, John.
Okay, James. James?
James.
James? No, James?
Nicola.
Nicola.
Not Sturgeon.
No,
My question was, what are the policies on youth services in Stoke, and what is your opinion on the youth hub proposed in Hanley?
The youth hub is absolutely wrong. It shouldn't be built there. It doesn't do anything for kids in London and in here. That's number one. But we do need. Look, Jack talked about quite passionately about monkey dust, and he talked about crime, and crime we know is on the increase. And we do have a difficulty with our youth. And maybe, I mean, I had a local youth club that I went to that took me off the estate. And it started off in the sheds on the estate, and then we built a youth centre and we went there. But it's not just having a youth club, it's having great people who work in the youth club, You can put a pool table anywhere, that's not going to do anything. But it's having the most, I mean, I remember her now, in fact, saying that I went back there after 40 years and to see if she was still there. She's retired, she's not there anymore. But she was the most inspirational woman who ran around the youth club that took us out of the estate and showed us that there was a better path for us. So it's not just about having youth clubs, certainly not about having one in Handy, but it's about having great people who work in them. That's what we need.
Yeah, I'm totally opposed to the youth club as well. You can go back and look before I was an MP, when I was a councillor, I spoke out against the youth club. I think we need to see that money actually going into youth services within the communities where people actually are and where our young people actually are. I've been working with recently with the YMCA to set up and help them set up more youth provision across the south of the city and more youth clubs, which they've had some funding to do. And also, I want to see us create these new 3G pitches as well. We need to improve the sports facilities for young people in the south of the city. We don't have a 3G pitch in Mere, for example. We need to see that created so that we have better facilities for our young people and ensure that there are the youth provisions, the youth facilities in our communities.
Okay, does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Right then, so we've come to an end of that sort of part of the session. So we've got two short ones now. If Mark can talk first and give us his political pitch, 5-6 minutes, Mark, something like that.
You know, it's 20 past 10. I'm not going to be 5 or 6 minutes. Hopefully I'll be able to summarise it in about 40 seconds. You know, I've listened to Jack throughout the evening. And I've met Jack twice, and he comes across, and he seems to be a very nice person. And I'm sorry that this evening somebody has had a go at him. It should not have happened. But the one thing that I've noticed Jack saying to the answer to every question is, well, yes, that is right. The health service is bad, but we've got to change it. And I disagreed with the council on this. I disagreed with the council in relation to the planning on Berry Hill Farms. I disagreed with the council, this is the Tory-led council, on Hanley. I've disagreed with my police and criminal commissioner in relation to crime policy. And I've got to say, leads me to the view of maybe Jack's in the wrong party. Maybe he should be over here in the Labour Party, and if he ever wants to join us, because he seems to be disagreeing with many things that his own party does.
I still wouldn't vote for him.
Oh.
Your wife didn't agree with you.
Yeah, your wife's in the Conservative Party, isn't she?
Is that how low you want to take it?
Well, it wasn't low when your friend threatened to kill him, was it?
Anyway, okay. All right. Let's try and take.
Go on.
Let's try and take the temperature out of it, because we want to keep it calm. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I was going to before I was really into it. I think that we need a revolutionary change to the approach that we do things, both in the State South, but also across the country, both in environment, both in housing, both in health. And I think that what I've tried to do throughout the evening is not say we're going to chuck money at it, but say that this is how I think that we should be doing things that are different. We do have some significant problems with austerity that is left behind. So I think abolishing universal credit, getting rid of academies, getting rid of tuition fees, ensuring that we have a better funded and a more dynamic National Health Service, ensuring that we have better housing for our constituents and our citizens that live in the city. That is the way forward. 9 years of a Conservative government has led us to the stage that we are here today. I'm asking now if we want to have change. Do we want to stick with the same policies, the same government, the same issues and the same politicians? Or do we want to change and go to a new and fresh approach? I said I was going to give you 30 seconds. I think I was about 10 minutes, so forgive me.
Thank you, Dave. At this critical time in our history, it is absolutely essential that we get on and deliver Brexit and end the uncertainty. I have voted repeatedly in Parliament to deliver Brexit and to get on with delivering Brexit at the earliest opportunity. That compares with Labour MPs who represent other parts of the city who voted consistently for delays and to block Brexit entirely. I will deliver what the majority of my constituents voted for. 70% of people here in Stoke-on-Trent South voted leave, and I will deliver that we will leave the European Union on the 31st of January. Getting on with Brexit is absolutely essential to end this uncertainty so we can get back to the issues that really matter for our country and for Stoke-on-Trent South, like investing in the NHS, investing £33.9 billion additional in the NHS. I want to ensure that we get as much of that money coming to Stoke-on-Trent as possible, that we continue to deliver on the new health centre for Longton, that will have walk-in facilities for the whole of the south of the city, to provide better health services for the south of the city. I want to continue to support the police in the fantastic work that they're doing to crack down on antisocial behaviour and crime. I want us to improve our town centres and ensure that we have more of those empty units filled. I want to get more investment into our town centres and ensure that the brownfield sites in our city are filled with new development. We want to see the enterprise zone come to the south of the city and extended to cover some of those brownfield sites, and I've been pushing for this to happen so that that will incentivise the redevelopment of some of these sites. And importantly, that will make sure that we protect the important greenbelt sites and greenfield sites in the south of the city so that that development is directed to those brownfield sites. I also want to see more opportunities, more job opportunities created, better paid, better skilled opportunities in this city. We need to have a better education system as well, as we've talked about tonight. We need to see more money, and I will ensure that we get more money for every single child in every single school in this city. I also want to see the new free school, the new secondary free school in the south of the city to address creating more placements and boosting up standards. And I want to continue to deliver on those opportunities, making sure that every child in our city can access the full potential. We need to improve our transport in Stoke-on-Trent. Our transport is totally dire. We have really appalling bus services, and I've been working to try and secure more money. I want to see more money to create more routes, and I will work with the council to improve bus services. I also want to see improved train services with a new station at Mere and further improvements to Longton Station. And we need to see more investment in our roads to fix our broken roads and ensure we address the congestion that we've seen tonight and today with the A500. I want to continue to build on this and build on the work that I've been doing. So please vote for me on the 12th of December so we can get on with delivering for Stoke-on-Trent and get Brexit done.
Okay, right. That comes to the end. So I can just close now for the next couple of minutes. And first of all, I'd like to thank the Dougie Mac for their attendance tonight. I think we're a wonderful, wonderful local charity. I hope you found the evening useful, informative and beneficial. But more importantly, we hope it helps you make a more informed decision when the election comes around on the 12th of December. The election is not a binary, as we've seen tonight. It's not a binary election, and there are many policies which will influence the future success of Stoke-on-Trent in the country. Once again, I'd like to thank Mark and the staff here at the Florence Sports and Social Club for their hospitality. Thank you. I would like to thank the candidates, Jack and Mark, for coming along tonight. I'd like to thank the Lightwood Community Group for the work that they do to try to make the community as best it can be. But more importantly, I'd like to thank you for your attendance tonight and for the money that will go to the Dougie Mac. We'll close the meeting now. We hope that you've found it beneficial, as I said before, but importantly, more importantly, the election is on the 12th, so use your votes. People have died for the vote, so people should make sure that they turn up, vote. Whichever way you vote, it doesn't matter. But we should all use that sort of democratic vote that we've had fought for, died for over the many years. There's many countries that would love what we've got in the UK. We hope and expect whoever is elected at the upcoming election will represent us as best they can. We deserve better as Stoke-on-Trent. I mean, when you look at the league tables, where we are on wealth, on education and whatever, we do deserve better, and we hope whoever's a successful candidate keeps fighting our corner, keeps delivering for us. So that's what we're saying. Just one little thing I'd like to do for both of the candidates is there's two ties here. One's blue and one's red, both from Stoke City. Which colour would you like, Jack? Which colour would you like more?
I'm happy with it.
There you go. So thanks a lot for coming along tonight. I hope you found it out beneficial. Have a nice Christmas and drive home safely.